Hi all. Got quite a bit done the last couple of weeks. Obviously went to a car show with the car, which was good. So got to take the old guy out. We rushed through repainting the centre section, or re-gel coating the centre section, shall I say, because I had a few flaws. So we've corrected those, sanded and polished those out. So she's pretty, yeah, looks good all in white. Well, looks good all in one colour, full stop. So yes, I know, still haven't done the roof yet. I'll get to it. Anyway, obviously a while ago we talked about the blink stop wireless conversion for the steering wheel. So this obviously takes all the information from the two analog 10 position sensors. There are ECU masters and all the push buttons. This then transmits them and transmits them to a receiver in the car, and that receiver then puts all those signals on the CAN bus. Well, this is a backing plate I was going to put on the steering wheel initially, but realised it was going to be a pain, and it would be trying to cable in there would be a thing, and it'd be a shame not to cover all the cables up. So if you ignore the fact that it's not actually in it, we've made this now. So this is 3D printed at the moment, but to be honest, it's pretty strong on what I did. I've used aluminium spacers for the actual strength. So this is really just a kind of just purely a cover. So it covers all the backs of the switches up. So realistically, when you pull the steering wheel out, that's all it is. No cables, no nothing else. Nice and simple. So I'm dead happy with that. That's worked out really well. Yeah, it's come up good. Finally get some decent prints out of the 3D printer, but there, won't go into that story. Right, so steering wheel, one little minor update on that. Since I last spoke, obviously now the car's come back, I can start installing, or shall we say making all the brackets for the good stuff. So we've assembled the the rear bulkhead plate, but I needed to make sure that I was basically using the bulkhead plate as a template to put the intercoolers on. So we put the plate on, scribed a pencil so I knew where all the bars were, because the first two fixings for the intercoolers were basically going to be through these two bars. So basically I used that as a template, simple enough. Everything's just tacked at the moment, nothing's done solid. When I pull the car to bits to have it powder coated, then basically I'll screw the intercoolers on. While they're done up, then I'll basically weld all around these four pieces, and once we cover this piece here, I'll basically weld like a washer, but on an angle that's similar to the rear bulkhead here, and then basically we'll just put a couple of rivets around there and then seal the hole. But having the bolts on this side go through into the intercoolers, so the threads are in the intercoolers and the bolts through here, makes it a lot easier to put it in, because obviously trying to bolt stuff up on that side, it's going to be a real pain in the bum. And also realistically you don't see the bolts now, so they're kind of hidden behind the bulkhead, so which is good. So so yes, intercoolers mounted. So we have the three bosses. You can just about see one here that's now welded onto the intercoolers, and there's two at the lower. So the twin water-to-air intercoolers are now mounted. Also fabricated a bracket for the here and made a extension stud for that, and just basically kept this. This is actually a like a chrome zoomy part you get for a BMW Mini. Don't ask me what year, but an early BMW Mini. You buy these off of wherever the hell, and they're literally for a Mini. But I'm just using this as an expansion vessel stroke swirl pot for the water system that goes through the two intercoolers, and eventually obviously the Hayabusa radiator with its own electric pump. So I'm going to cut the one fitting off here I don't need. I'll weld that up. Now I've got to weld some two tangential points that come out of the intercoolers into here to allow it to spin, so the water comes in at an angle and spins, and then there's a 1-inch fitting that's going to come out of that. those will have to be welded to the bottom. But it seemed rude not to try and fabricate my own unit when that really cut nice comes with a cap, and I think it was too much money either. So yeah, I'll sooner why redesign from scratch when you can pretty much just it was just perfect position. So sometimes you find stuff that's handy. So as the keen-eyed amongst you have noticed now, this is the connection here and it's very close to the wastegates. So the wastegates are going to have to be chopped, and basically what we'll do, we'll lean the wastegate down. So we'll probably put like chop the bottom, put a couple of pie cuts in and lift it back and down the way, because this exhaust has got to go down to meet the 3-inch exhaust coming out of it anyway. So I might as well just incline or decline this to get it out of the way of the pipe. You could probably make a pipe to miss, but let's give it some real estate and give it some space, and then I could easily put a reflector. Most of those stuff's going to be gold. I'll reflective wrap the intercoolers and the intercooler pipes just to try and keep some of the radiant heat out of them. So yeah, intercoolers mounted, swirl pot mounted, half the mod's done. Now waiting for a couple of bent pipes. The only 3/4 bender I've got isn't tight enough for what I need, because I need to shove, if you can get the camera down there, I need to shove in this void space here 2 3/4-inch pipes from the 2 intercoolers up into here, and then a 1-inch down, which will then go and feed the radiator. And there ain't much room, so yeah, I've got to be sensible about that. So like everything else, you've got to make sure that yes, it will physically work, but B, you've also got to make sure that you can actually get it apart in some form of sense, because if it's impossible to bolt back together, then it's pointless. So yeah, intercoolers mounted, I'm there. So stuff that I've got that I can crack on with. We're going to try and get the exhaust box mounted the next day or so. So the original frame here that we partly mount the oil coolers from, that also has the 4 body buffers for the body to sit on. We'll also eventually have the 2 catches to release the rear clip. So that one bar already has 3 jobs. We're going to add another few to it. So frame welded to that tube at the moment. At the moment it's flexible in vertical, but we'll cancel that out in a minute. Welded on just turned some stainless steel pins for the rubber bushes for the exhaust. I'm just going to turn some more pins up before I call it a night to mount the front here, and we'll do the same at the back. We'll turn some pins, drill them through there, mount them on there, and then basically we'll probably put like a U-bar on here. It'll come up and out, or maybe come up and around. We haven't totally decided that, but realistically this top bar here, its first job, should we say, was to mount the exhaust, or the main exhaust box anyway. Now, as well as the 3 things it's already doing, like I said, body buffers, body catches, and also a mount for the oil coolers, it's also helping to mount the diffuser, because there's a diffuser point mount there. It's also the body catches, exhaust. It's also going to be a load bearing box at the back, should we say, for the rear wing. So when the rear clip closes and the wings on there, we come down. So you can imagine the catches are going to be along here. So we'll have I'll have something on here. I haven't put my mind to designing the damn thing yet, but we'll have the catches attached to the bodywork, but also the catches will have some form of a plate there that when it comes down, that will sit basically on rubber mounts to sort of give it some form of a cushion, but then be pretty solid because it'll be sat on top of that. So the rubber will give it a little bit of flex, but not too much. And then the rear wing, which will bolt through from the top, obviously, will be attached also to that catch and mount plate. So when the rear clip closes on here, the catch is there, and the body buffers and whatever's at the back here will take the rear wing loading. So the rear wing has somewhere to push its push its load into. Now at the moment, I say this bar vertically, obviously we've got an overhang here at the moment, so it flows up and down, so it flexes up and down. But what we're going to do is we're going to put some probably 2mm, we'll probably go with 2mm CDS, and we'll bend, mainly because it's got a bend in it, we'll bend some 1-inch round tube, and we'll attach it to the plate and then come up here, and then basically that then will, to push that downward, going to be, you know, near impossible, because it's basically pushing on the rear suspension to push that down. So this then will become a lot more sturdy. We may end up with a couple of different bars over here yet, or plates to mount the catches and where the wing's going to go, but we'll do that. We'll design it as we go on that respect. So yes, pretty soon, once the exhaust is mounted, the frame's in the back, then I can basically finish the exhaust off, basically between the box and here. Apart from the slight modification to the wastegate, which is going to be tilted down a bit, the 3-inch pipe, yeah, this is going to have to be cut out of here. That corner is going to miss, which is why I left that low, because we'll end up cutting a section out of here for that exhaust pipe to come through. Obviously not every car is going to be NA, so sorry, not every car's going to be turbo, so that's in the mold for people who don't want the turbos there. But that 3-inch pipe will come through and then basically enter into the exhaust box here, and then exit from the other side diagonally and come into the diffuser. So without having the exhaust box there mounted on its rubbers, it's pretty hard to make the exhaust system. So I can basically either tackle it myself, which is maybe, or give it back to Chris at Unobtainium, and he'll basically finish the exhaust off. He's the guy that did the beautiful job on the headers, so it might end up going back to him yet. So once the exhaust is done, yes, we're moving on. One thing I did do for the show, which I kind of thought that would like, I hadn't got trying to make the rear diffuser, so I basically just used the buck, and I put a really crappy, emphasis on the word crappy, vinyl wrap job on the diffuser, just so when I closed the clip, it gave me that contrast between the white bodywork and the sort of the black carbon diffuser. And I didn't like it, to be honest. I didn't like I don't know. It didn't, because it's black, you didn't see it. And the diffuser is such a large part of the design of the car. I kind of wanted to sort of draw attention to it. And most people at the show missed it. They were more interested in the engine, which is fine, that's okay. But I kind of I had to point the diffuser out to a few people, at which point then the penny dropped and realized, you know, one of the main ethos of building the car in the first place was to build a car with underbody aerodynamics, or ground effects, what do you want to call it. So I'm very tempted, and it's also a cheapskate way for me, is I'll build one in fiberglass initially, instead of doing one in carbon. I'll build one in fiberglass for the moment, and then I'll see how I like the body color version of it. So I could still do it in carbon and then paint it white, but at this point I'm just going to do one in fiberglass, and we'll test in fiberglass. Also, this frame here will also have ties down to the extension of the diffuser. So basically the back end of the diffuser will also be, instead of just mounted to here, which is technically it's just clipped in, it'll also have mounts to here. There is actually a C-section bar that goes all the way across on this inside. Pull it out. Hard to tell, but if you look inside here, that's actually a C-section aluminum piece, basically to add some structure there, and now then you can weld and bolt whatever you want to the damn thing. So I'll do the same thing to the one I make, the new one I make from the mold, and that allows me to bolt stuff directly to it. But yes, so you know, good old Everlast is back out again, and get my hand back into TIG welding, so which is nice to, yeah, it's been a while. So yeah, I've kind of done that. There is a few minor tweaks that we played with it. started making the brackets for the roof mounted switches that'll go between the roll cage. We'll tweak this one a little bit first. I've got to put some metal brackets and make this bolt in, and then we'll cover this in whatever we cover the dash in. So we cover the dash in Alcantara, we'll do the same with that. We obviously mounted the wider seat, but that's no real news there. Yeah, I suppose that's about it at the moment. Yeah, it's great to start actually putting some physical parts back on the car, albeit it's really just a complete full dry build at this point. But I needed to get all the welding jobs that I needed done to the chassis before I tear it apart. So, and the last big stumble will obviously be all the plumbing. So, and there'll be a few brackets. There'll be a few earth points for the electrical stuff, but it'll also be a few brackets for the plumbing. Mounting of the mounting of the hydraulic pump on the one side, mounting of the electric water pump on this side. There's obviously mounting of the condenser, which is now bought, it's finally on its way. There's a huge delay because of, well, I'm guessing COVID and whatever else, but I struggled to get that particular condenser for about the last 6 months. So condenser's finally on its way, so I'll have to make the mounting brackets for that. Whatever mounting points we need for the Hayabusa radiator, which is going to be the water radiator for the intercooler system. All of those brackets got to be made. Any said brackets that we might want for mounting any of the major part of the electronics, which is going to go down here. Most of the water is going to go that side, so the passengers get warm. Not me, I'll just have the AC lines. Yeah, that's about it. Yes, so it's great. Yeah, feeling a bit more energized. Actually managing to get on with some stuff that makes sense instead of just sanding, polish, which just gets boring after a while. So, yes, you had to get a new bottle of gas. Teaching daughter how to TIG. Emptied my last one. Eh, Candies? Anyway, no bitching. Right, speak to you all soon. Bye.